Hello and welcome. My name is Mallory and I'm the CSM at BASE. Prior to coming to BASE, I spent time as an assistant, so I've definitely been in your shoes and I understand the unique challenges of your role. As you know, BASE is the first platform for assistants. We saw a lack of tools for assistants, so we ultimately decided to create BASE with their unique challenges and workflows in mind. Today, we're going to dig into how BASE can help you be more efficient, effective, and valuable. One thing I do like to mention right away is that BASE truly is just for assistants. Your executive does not need access to BASE, and they don't need to learn a new tool, though they'll likely see some outputs from BASE. As we get started, I wanted to do just a quick orientation of what you're looking at. Across the top here, you see what we call workspaces. Generally speaking, there is a 1-to-1 ratio of workspace to executive. Each workspace represents someone that you support. For ease of use, we do encourage you to associate an avatar with each workspace. You can also drag and drop your workspaces in an order that makes the most sense for you. Down the left-hand side of this screen, you will see all of our features, both existing and beta features. And then lastly, up in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see all of our settings. This is where you're going to add accounts, you can associate calendars with your various workspaces, and you can also set up feature-specific preferences. This is also where those with admin privileges of a team account can control who has access to what. The first feature that we're going to look at today is Digest Builder. We originally created Digest Builder for what might be the more common use cases of daily digests and weekly wrap-ups. Today, we're going to walk through a daily digest, but before we get started, I did want to mention that there are quite a few other one-off use cases that Digest Builder can be really valuable for. Those include things like meeting summaries, travel itineraries, monthly and quarterly goal updates. The sky is really the limit of how Digest Builder can be used. Today, we're going to walk through creating a daily digest. You'll notice that when you click into New Digest, you have the option to create from scratch or from a template. Templates are a benefit of a paid account, and you get a lot of efficiency when you're using a template. A template essentially loads in the whole structure of your digest. Another benefit to using templates is that your executive always knows where to look for something because it's always in the same order. A benefit of a team account is that you can actually share templates. So you'll notice that when we click Create from Template, you have a couple of tabs here. One of those is an inspiration tab. Typically, what we see assistants do when they're getting started with BASE is take a look at some of our inspiration tablets and then really mold those to how they do work, how they communicate with their executives, the type of information that their executive wants to see. So typically we see people checking these out and then actually creating their own templates. Within a team account, you also have the ability to make your templates visible to your account, and then anybody within your account would see those templates on the Shared With Me tab. If you're a manager of EAs or VAs or those in an assistant role, we often see with team accounts where a manager will actually create some templates and share them out with the account as a way to establish some consistency and support. We also see assistants in a team account sharing their templates with others in their account, especially if they've found a particular template to yield really good results or get really good responses from their executive. Today, we are going to walk through the creation of a daily digest. You'll notice that when I selected that template, it drops in the entire structure of my digest. So today we are going to go ahead and do a digest for tomorrow. So we're going to assume that this is a daily digest. Typically what we see is an assistant coming in each morning and beginning the digest. We know that an assistant's day is often interrupted. They're being pulled in a lot of different directions, but we do tend to see assistants coming in kind of first thing and going ahead and getting the structure of this digest created. So we can assume that the assistant is kind of coming in each day, creating the template, and then starting to go about his or her work. So perhaps some of the sections in my digest template are important emails. So maybe I want to indicate to my executive that there are 4 emails in the draft folder to be reviewed and sent today. Maybe there are 2 emails in the today folder that need immediate attention. And perhaps there are 3 emails in the FYI folder to review at your convenience. We can assume that as the assistant is going about his or her day, they're going into the inbox, they're coming into Digest Builder, they're kind of doing things as it makes sense for them. Perhaps they're also coming in and sharing some status updates. So maybe we're working on annual reviews. So maybe prep for annual reviews is underway. We could say, you know, all docs have been prepped and are in employee folders. 360 reviews and self-reviews have been sent with deadlines indicated, and reminders will go out on Monday, for example. So as I'm going about my day, I'm adding notes to important emails, I'm adding notes to status updates. These are typically updates that are going to be delivered to my executive asynchronously that don't necessarily warrant a conversation. I'm going to save those things that are a bit more strategic in nature or going to require a bit more back and forth for my one-on-one, but I'm going to deliver these asynchronous updates ahead of time so that I can really maximize the amount of time I'm talking to my executive and maybe that weekly one-on-one. And lastly, I'm going to pull in tomorrow's calendar information. There we go. I have already set up in my preferences the level of detail that I actually want to come into my Digest Builder. This can be changed and set at a default level, and I can actually come into each of these events and I can remove them. I can adjust the level of detail, and I can also add a more detailed description. Some of these events may not actually warrant some context. So typically what we're seeing here is that assistants are providing their executive with context that they're going to need in order to take this meeting. So who is this person? How do I know them? Who introduced us? Perhaps if it's somebody that they've met before, we're sharing the notes from last meeting, what our goals are for this meeting, really anything that this executive is going to need in order to make this meeting successful. So again, we tend to see assistants kind of coming in here and, you know, maybe we don't need all of this Zoom information. Perhaps we just need the Zoom meeting itself, and then we're going to actually add in some agenda items and notes for context. So as I go about my day, I'm kind of editing this information as needed. Something else that assistants are often doing throughout the day is organizing questions that they have for an executive. One thing that we often hear from executives is that it kind of breaks their concentration when they're getting questions kind of peppered throughout the day. And what's better for the executive is to actually get a list of questions at one time, at a time that makes sense for them, that they're able to kind of review and answer. One of the benefits of having an assistant for an executive is that the assistant can really act as a second brain for the executive. They can kind of think through what their questions are and present them with some potential options based on what they know about the executive. I often say that executives tend to suffer from decision fatigue. And I think in a lot of ways it's true because they're often answering or are having to make decisions about their team and their goals and their employees and their customers, depending on the type of role. So if an assistant can really leverage what they know about that executive, ask the question and present them with some potential options, it makes the question and answer process that much easier for the executive, and it becomes a less daunting task for them. So we can imagine that you as an assistant are going into Digest Builder, updating that digest throughout the day. You're also adding your questions to Decision Stream. So perhaps my first question that I want to ask today is what price range are you thinking for employee holiday gifts this year. So I can ask my question, I can provide some context as needed, and then I'm going to choose my response type. In this scenario, I only want my executive to be able to choose one option, so I'm going to choose single select, and I'm going to begin putting my values in. So perhaps the first value is 25 to 50, maybe the next one is 50 to 75, so on and so forth. One thing I like to mention here as well is that each of these options, like I said, are customizable. They can also act as links. So if your question is actually, what hotel do you want to stay at when you go to New York in 2 months, you could link out to the hotel's website if that made sense. You control whether or not you allow an open response, which gives your executive the option to choose other, and then they can type in their own response. You also can select resources. So perhaps you've already pulled up some potential employee gifts in these various price ranges, and you've put them into a Google Doc or a spreadsheet or something of that nature. You could actually attach this to help your executive understand what can we actually get for our employees in each of these price ranges. You can flag this as a priority item, which will show on your executive side. You can also tag your question. So if I know that I want to add this question to my October 15th digest, I can tag it with that date, and my tag will act as a filtering mechanism. From here, I'm going to save my question. I have one more question for my executive today, so I'm going to ask him, do you want to remove or keep one-on-ones the week of annual reviews? Again, I'm going to choose single select, but maybe if I had phrased the question, do you want to remove your one-on-ones the week of annual reviews, I could have just chosen yes, no, other. So given the way I've phrased it, I'm going to say remove or keep. Again, I'm going to save this question. Again, we're going to imagine that we've kind of been going back and forth throughout the day, but the end of the day is approaching, and I want to go ahead and start putting my questions in my digest builder together and schedule those to send at a time that makes sense for my executive. So I'm going to select my questions in the order that I want them to appear for the executive, and then I'm going to click the share button. You'll notice here that you have multiple options for delivery. If this was a more time-sensitive question, or if I wanted to use this decision stream as kind of a reminder mechanism to let them know something at a specific time, I might text the link or Slack the link. You'll notice with both of these options, you can send now or you can schedule for later. So if I know there's a particular time that I want them to get this, I could schedule it for that specific time. But because these are, again, those kind of asynchronous questions that aren't necessarily time sensitive, I'm going to add them to my digest builder. So from here, I can just navigate to digest builder. You'll notice that it pulls up the digest that I'm actively working on. From here, I'm just going to add my decision stream link. It's going to give me a list of all the streams that I've created. It's going to list the date that the stream was created and how many questions are in the stream. It's also going to give me a preview of what those questions are, so I can be sure that I'm selecting the correct one. So I associate that, that decision stream with my digest builder. I'm going to review my information here one more time. It looks great, so I click preview and send. Again, you're going to see kind of that static preview of what the digest is going to look like, regardless of how your executive views it. So your executive really only needs access to a device and either mobile or internet access to view this information. So if they're walking down the street, walking their dog, and they want to review their digest, they can do that on a mobile device. Maybe they're waiting until they get into the office and actually reviewing it then. This is what it will look like on a desktop or a laptop computer. Similar to what you saw in Decision Stream, you have multiple delivery mechanisms for this particular digest. We want to make sure that we're meeting your executive where you're already communicating with them. We don't want you or them to have to change their workflows. So that's why we've given you multiple ways to deliver this information. You can deliver via email and control the subject line and recipients. Perhaps this isn't a digest, or a daily digest rather, but maybe it's a meeting summary. You could add multiple email recipients to this list and send the digest to multiple people. You can also text in Slack. You'll notice that with email, text, and Slack, I do have the option to send now or schedule for later. I'm actually going to send this via email, and I'm going to schedule it for later. So perhaps my executive is actually an early riser. I'm going to choose to send it tomorrow morning at, let's say, 6 a.m. I can actually just type in the time and select it. From here, I could click schedule it. Because I want to show you what it actually looks like, I'm going to copy the link and just paste it here. What your executive sees is a really nice professional looking update that gives them information about emails, it gives some status updates, and it also provides them a preview of what's coming in their day, along with all the context that they need in order to make their day successful. While you have this captive audience, I always recommend adding your decision stream because they're going to be looking for this valuable document, and you can go ahead and get some of your questions answered as well. So if I'm the executive, I open up the decision stream. I'm able to just quickly read my questions. Maybe they say remove. Let's keep Amber's one-on-one because we are working on an maybe important project. They can bi-directionally communicate some information back to you, and they click continue. They read the question again. They say, let's choose something in the $50 to $75 range. Perhaps they have some ideas. They could share them with you. Maybe they want to, let's look at one of those services that lets them pick their gift from a list, perhaps. From there, they just click finish. So what does that look like for you on base, right? So you'll notice that on the home page in the activity panel, you'll see that the digest was viewed, the decision stream was viewed, and your questions were actually answered. From within decision stream, your questions are going to move from the awaiting response column to the answered column. You may, in most cases, I find that when you get a question answered, it becomes something you then have to do. Base offers a task list, so we're easily able to select our questions and push them over to the task list. From here, I can simply navigate over to tasks. And you're going to see the top 2 questions are those decisions that I just pushed over to the task list. From here, I can just come in and go ahead and we can change, maybe we're changing the title to employee holiday gifts. We know that we have a couple of subtasks likely, so we need to research gift options that allow employees to select their own gift. Perhaps we need to confirm list of employees who are getting a gift this year. You can add as many subtasks as you want. You also have the opportunity to add some text if it makes sense. You can change the due date. So maybe we want to push this out. Maybe we don't need to have this done until late November. You actually can put a due date on your individual subtasks if you'd like. You'll notice that this question is forever associated with this particular task because we pushed it over from decision stream. I can add a tag if I'd like. Tags will act as filtering mechanisms within the main task screen. I can also add attachments. So again, if I've already done some research, I could pull that research into this particular task. You'll notice that tasks has this beta flag, and that's because we're not done. Tasks is out, it's available to all users at this point, but there's still a lot that we want to do with tasks. So definitely stay tuned. And I'm gonna stick around for any questions that you guys have after this recording. Thanks so much.